Hi, I'm the Director for Common Knowledge Trust, and we produce Birthing Better Childbirth Preparation online course. So today I want to talk to you about the ebook and the video segments about our bony structure of our pelvis. In a previous video, I talked about the overview of both the bony structure and our soft tissue. What families began to understand in the 70s when these skills were being developed, we really didn't have a clue about how to prepare our body for birth. Often women would be told, relax your shoulders. Well, babies aren't coming out your shoulders. Or don't stand on your tippy toes. Babies aren't coming out your tippy toes. So people were not paying attention to where babies were coming out, which was the bony structure and then the soft tissue as well. So it was very confusing, and it took us 15 years to really get clear about what we were talking about and how to develop skills around the bony pelvis that most people didn't have a clue. If we said to each other, well, we have to do something about our pelvis, most people think it's just one bone. They don't have any understanding really how many bones there are, much less how do they move or how do they join up. So in the video segment, we can show you, we actually got a woman's pelvis, which is hard to find. And we can show you the man's pelvis and a woman's pelvis and the bones, but they're skeletons. So they don't have all the connective tissue and the soft tissue, the muscles, the fat, the skin on it. So that's what allows our bony structure to move, is the fact that we have the soft tissue and our mind that's able to make changes in these bones that articulate together. And it's important to understand where your baby wants you to make space inside your bony pelvis. And that's what we go over in the video segments that show you how to make space side to side with the hip lift, and how to create space front to back with the sacral maneuver, or to create space in the lower part of the bony structure in the sit bone spread. So it's really important that you understand that we can create more space in our pelvis, even if you have a narrow pubic arch, and you probably have never even felt your pubic arch. But if you can't fit 3 fingers into your pubic arch, it is narrow. And by the positions you take, you can create more space. Do you know whether you have a long tailbone or a short tailbone or a curved sacrum or a flat sacrum or a narrow sacrum or a short sacrum or a wide sacrum? We didn't know. We spent time understanding and figuring this out because our bony structure impacted whether our baby could easily come down through the pelvis. You have to understand that there is a physical, practical relationship between our baby and the inside of our body. Our baby is a 3-dimensional object. It's coming through the 3-dimensional container that's our pregnant birthing body. And if that baby's size relative to the space inside us is fine, then it's not going to be hindered. But if that baby is relatively large for the space inside us, it can take more time for our baby to move down through the bony pelvis. And we're not even talking about opening the cervix. So we're just, because that's the soft tissue. So we're just talking about being able to help our baby move down through the bony structure. Often when women get checked, they'll hear, depending on whether they're in the United States or in other countries, your baby's engaged or at a plus or minus station. So it's really important that you understand where your baby really is. And when we talk about the bony structure, we're talking about creating more space in the sacrum. We have a skill called Kate's cat that's somewhat similar to the sacral maneuver. The sacral maneuver is done when you're lying on your side. Kate's cat is done while you're sitting or standing or moving around. In other words, you learn to keep your sacrum flexible. The hip lift, Most people don't even think about whether the hips can move in relationship to each other. But if you lie on one side and you put your hand on top of the big hip blade, and then you find the sit bone, the bone we all sit on, and you gently go straight down and straight up like a lever, and it's where your leg bone meets, is that teeter-totter lever. And you can move the sit bone up by gently pushing down on the hip. And that creates space between the sit bones. Now, often people are saying, how much space does a baby need? And that was an important question. We had to figure it out. How much space does a baby need? Does it need this much space? Does it need this much space? Does it need this much space? And what we discovered was we think the baby needs this much space if it's stuck. But that's inaccurate. So what we learned was to have a physical representation of the difference between a stuck baby and an unstuck baby, one that's moving down, going from a 0 station or engaged to a +2, or from up in the pelvis through the narrow part of the pelvis, then with the cervix opening down to the vagina. We had to understand if that baby got stuck in that narrow space, how much space did the baby need to get unstuck? So what we found was if you put your fingers together, tightly together, and try to move them, that's stuck. Okay? If you just soften, but keep those fingers touching, don't move them apart, just soften, and then glide those thumb and index finger. That's all your baby needs. Your baby doesn't need this much space, doesn't need this much space, doesn't need this much space. It just needs you to soften so it can move through. And so learning how to create space in your bony structure through the exercises on the videos and with the ebook will help you understand that almost any subtle tension you create or don't even know you have can stop your baby from moving through your pelvis if your baby is relatively large for the inside of your pelvis. The bone the baby will move out if it needs more space is primarily the sacrum. This is why women get back labor, because the hardness of the head presses on the sacrum, and if the sacrum is tight and not mobile, then you feel pain because the nerve endings come down the spine through the sacrum. Now, a lot of people say, well, if your baby is in a posterior back-to-back position, you're more likely to get back labor. Yes and no. If your baby's relative size to the inside of your pelvis is fine, then you will not get back labor. If your baby's back is towards your belly and your baby is quite tight in there, you can get back labor if you have a tight sacrum. So you need to understand how to create space through Kate's cat and mobility and the sacral maneuver so that you are optimizing the ability of your baby to open up your pelvis as it's moving through the bony structure. You're helping your baby. This is good. Now, the one benefit of these skills is if you do have back labor will be in a certain place in your sacrum. And if it stays there, then you know the baby is still there. And if you've learned to do the internal work and know how to feel inside, then you can feel that the baby, there has been no change. The baby isn't moving down more. But if you create space side to side or front to back, and the pain shifts downward, that tells you that you've made space and your baby's moved down. And then if you check inside, the baby will have moved down and there'll be change inside. So families were very serious. We did not take the birth of our baby lightly. We took it as though it was a very, very big event that we had to do. So the skills in birthing better are serious skills. They're direct skills, they're practical skills, they're effective skills, but you have to learn them. You have to practice them, and then you have to use them. Now, how many people do a hip lift in birth? Somewhere around 30%. How many do the sacral maneuver? Probably 10 or 15%. How many do the sit bone spread? Probably 5%. But when they know those skills and they feel that the baby is stuck in these different places, they do it. How many use Kate's cat? Probably 70%, because it's a reminder to keep your sacral moving. So the bony pelvis is in videos and an ebook. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.